Have you ever experienced that moment when heaven seems utterly silent? When your prayers feel like they're bouncing off an empty ceiling? When God appears to have stepped away, leaving you in a spiritual desert? There's one powerful day in our faith journey when this divine silence reaches its most profound depth: Holy Saturday. This often overlooked day contains spiritual treasures that many believers miss entirely. And according to Padre Pio, this oversight isn't just unfortunate, it could be spiritually dangerous. Between Good Friday's sorrowful darkness and Easter Sunday's triumphant joy lies a threshold day of sacred mystery. Holy Saturday isn't merely a pause between significant events. It's a spiritual crucible where faith is tested, purified, and prepared for resurrection. But how many of us truly understand its significance? While many Christians busy themselves with Easter preparations, setting tables, organizing family gatherings, decorating eggs, heaven watches in profound silence. From that silence, what does God observe? He sees distracted hearts, souls rushing toward celebration without having properly experienced waiting, and faithful who haven't grasped the tremendous spiritual weight of this sacred day. This is precisely where Padre Pio's wisdom becomes essential. The beloved saint with the stigmata understood Holy Saturday's deeper meaning when he said something remarkable. Holy Saturday represents that solemn hour when the enemy despairs, heaven restrains itself, and the righteous soul must learn the discipline of keeping silence with God. These words carry urgent significance for believers today. What exactly happens during Holy Saturday? What spiritual dynamics are at work beneath the surface of this seemingly quiet day? And most importantly, what spiritual practices should we embrace? And what common mistakes must we avoid to honor this sacred time? Today, I'm going to reveal these mysteries through the spiritual insights of Padre Pio, ancient church wisdom, and the profound spiritual realities unfolding in Holy Saturday's silence. If you believe in the transformative power of sacred silence, type "Teach me to wait with faith" in the comments below. Your engagement will help share this crucial message with others who desperately need this spiritual guidance. Think about how the Church honors Holy Saturday liturgically. There's no Mass celebrated. The tabernacle stands conspicuously open and empty. Church bells remain silent. The atmosphere conveys a unique kind of sacred desolation, unlike any other day in the liturgical calendar. Why such emptiness? Because on this mysterious day, while earthly senses perceive nothing, a cosmic spiritual battle unfolds in the unseen realm. While we experience silence on earth, Christ has descended to the realm of the dead, confronting death itself in its own territory. The ancient homily for Holy Saturday puts it beautifully. Today, a great silence reigns on earth. A great silence and a great stillness. A great silence because the King is asleep. This isn't empty silence. It's pregnant with divine activity beyond our perception. And herein lies the spiritual danger Padre Pio warned about. Precisely when this profound spiritual work happens beneath the surface, many believers lower their spiritual guard. They assume the battle concluded on Good Friday and begin premature celebrations, missing the essential spiritual lessons of waiting, trusting without seeing, and keeping vigil in faith. In one revealing letter to a spiritual daughter who had celebrated Easter prematurely, Padre Pio offered this stern correction. "My beloved child, remember that resurrection cannot be fully embraced by those who haven't faithfully accompanied Christ through the tomb's darkness." This insight strikes at our modern tendency towards spiritual impatience, our desire to skip difficult spiritual seasons and rush toward comfort and celebration. The true spiritual invitation of Holy Saturday is to enter into sacred waiting, to join Mary, the mother of Jesus, whose unshakable faith represented the only light that remained burning in a world plunged into apparent hopelessness. Can we follow her example? Can we quiet the constant noise of our busy lives for just one sacred day? Can we enter into contemplative waiting rather than anxious distraction? Padre Pio often reflected on Mary's extraordinary faith during Holy Saturday. While the disciples scattered in fear and confusion, while hope seemed utterly lost, Mary maintained steadfast trust in God's promises. Padre Pio beautifully noted, "When everyone else mourned what appeared to be ultimate defeat, Mary alone preserved the flame of expectant hope." Because of this remarkable faith, many spiritual writers suggest that the joy of resurrection was experienced first in Mary's faithful heart. even before the stone was physically rolled away. You too can participate in this profound spiritual reality, but only if you understand that waiting in faith isn't wasted time. It's essential preparation for authentic resurrection. Many Catholics today make a fundamental spiritual error regarding Holy Saturday. They transform this sacred time into merely another secular day, filling it with shopping trips, early celebrations, entertainment, and noise. They rush through preparations, missing the spiritual invitation to stillness. Padre Pio observed that when believers celebrate resurrection without having spiritually accompanied Christ through the tomb, their Easter joy remains superficial, a cultural tradition rather than a transformative spiritual reality. Through his mystical insights, Padre Pio witnessed how the enemy of our souls leverages this spiritual carelessness. When believers fail to honor Holy Saturday's sacred silence, they create openings for spiritual confusion and miss the deeper graces available through patient waiting. The principle remains unchangeable. Authentic glory follows the cross, and genuine resurrection follows burial. Holy Saturday calls us to humility, recollection, and what spiritual masters call obedient silence, discipline of waiting with God when all visible evidence suggests defeat. Before continuing our exploration of Holy Saturday's mysteries, I want to share something special with our faithful viewers. Many of you have asked for deeper guidance on incorporating Padre Pio's spiritual wisdom into your daily walk with God. That's why we've created our comprehensive Spiritual Treasures of Padre Pio digital collection. This invaluable resource contains powerful prayers, contemplative reflections based on his teachings, and practical spiritual exercises to strengthen your faith journey throughout the year. As a member of our God Protect Me membership plan, you'll receive exclusive access to this collection, plus additional monthly spiritual resources not available anywhere else. Our ministry continues sharing these transformative teachings thanks to faithful supporters like you. Now, let's return to our Holy Saturday reflection. While Padre Pio didn't leave us a formal handbook for Holy Saturday observance, his spiritual children carefully preserved the practices he recommended for this sacred day. Let me share 5 powerful spiritual exercises that can transform your Holy Saturday experience. First, Padre Pio recommended what he called the Sepulchre Rosary. This special prayer practice involves praying the Rosary while meditating specifically on Christ's hidden work between his death and resurrection, his descent among the dead, his liberation of righteous souls who awaited him, and Mary's faithful vigil. Padre Pio advised praying this Rosary with tears of compassionate love, imagining yourself keeping watch beside the sealed tomb alongside the sorrowful mother. Second, practice what Padre Pio called the fast of words, a discipline involving intentional silence, refraining from unnecessary conversation, abstaining from media consumption, and creating space for God to speak in the silence. In today's digitally saturated world, this practice becomes even more countercultural and necessary. Turn off your devices. Step away from social media. Create space for sacred silence where your soul can hear God's whispers. Third, spend time before the empty tabernacle in church. The open, empty tabernacle powerfully symbolizes Christ's absence during his burial. Padre Pio encouraged believers to sit quietly before this empty space, allowing themselves to experience the spiritual hunger that only the risen Lord can satisfy. This intentional embrace of spiritual emptiness prepares the heart to receive resurrection joy with greater fullness. Fourth, write a heartfelt letter to Christ in the tomb. Take physical paper and pen, not electronic devices, and pour out your heart to Jesus. Share your struggles, questions, hopes, and love. This ancient spiritual practice creates a tangible connection between your heart and the buried Christ. Padre Pio noted that such letters become a personal testament to God's continuing work in your life, even when his presence seems hidden. Finally, practice meditation on Christ's 5 wounds. Spend time contemplating each wound, his pierced hands, feet, and side, focusing particularly on how these wounds now lie hidden in burial linens, awaiting transformation into glorious signs of victory. Padre Pio taught that this meditation helps us recognize how our own wounds and sufferings, united with Christ's, contain the seeds of future glory when surrendered in faith. When practiced with sincere devotion, these 5 spiritual disciplines create a Holy Saturday experience that profoundly deepens your Easter celebration. Instead of merely commemorating historical events, you become a participant in salvation's unfolding mystery. The empty tomb becomes not just Christ's reality, but your own. As evening approaches on Holy Saturday, the Church prepares for the Easter Vigil, that glorious moment when darkness erupts into light with the kindling of the Paschal fire. But that sacred fire's illumination becomes truly meaningful only for those whose souls have journeyed through darkness with patient faith. If you've observed Holy Saturday as a spiritual burial of old patterns and attachments, then Easter's flame becomes not just a liturgical symbol, but a personal experience of spiritual rebirth. The enemy of our souls demonstrates particular cunning regarding Holy Saturday. He doesn't typically attack through fear on this day, but through distraction. He suggests that spiritual vigilance isn't necessary, that celebration can begin prematurely, that waiting holds no value. And through these subtle deceptions, he attempts to diminish your experience of Easter's transformative power. Through Padre Pio's spiritual writings and the testimonies of those who knew him intimately, we can identify specific pitfalls to avoid on Holy Saturday. These aren't arbitrary restrictions, but profound spiritual insights that protect our full participation in the Paschal mystery. First, avoid premature celebration. Padre Pio observed how many Christians, exhausted by Good Friday's solemnity, rush toward Easter festivities before properly honoring Saturday's sacred waiting. They organize early Easter gatherings, focus exclusively on meal preparations, or engage in recreational activities that bypass the spiritual invitation of this day. While these activities aren't inherently wrong, they can steal the unique spiritual gifts Holy Saturday offers. Second, guard against digital distraction. Although Padre Pio lived before our technological age, his emphasis on silence applies powerfully to our modern context. The constant notifications, endless scrolling, and media consumption that characterize contemporary life create significant barriers between our souls and God's transformative silence. Consider a complete digital fast during Holy Saturday as a spiritual discipline. Third, resist spiritual impatience. Holy Saturday challenges our cultural addiction to immediate gratification. It invites us into the uncomfortable space of not yet, teaching us to wait with hope rather than forcing immediate resolution. Padre Pio observed that many souls falter precisely at this point, wanting resurrection without burial, triumph without waiting, Easter without Holy Saturday. But authentic spiritual transformation requires passage through, not around, these threshold experiences. Fourth, be cautious about filling the day with excessive activity. Many believers, uncomfortable with stillness, pack Holy Saturday with unnecessary tasks and distractions. While appropriate Easter preparation isn't wrong, when busyness becomes escape from contemplation, we miss Holy Saturday's purpose. Padre Pio noted that excessive activity often serves as the enemy's most effective weapon against contemplative souls. Fifth, guard against spiritual presumption, treating Easter's joy as automatic rather than transformative. Padre Pio warned against approaching resurrection as a foregone conclusion requiring nothing from us. Those who haven't maintained faithful vigil with Christ, he observed, cannot fully participate in his victory celebration. Those who haven't experienced tomb-like waiting cannot fully appreciate liberation from it. One revealing story illustrates this principle. Padre Pio once counseled a man who complained that Easter never brought him the spiritual joy others described. After listening carefully, Padre Pio asked simply, "How do you observe Holy Saturday?" The man described a day filled with normal activities and casual preparations. Padre Pio responded with penetrating insight. "You cannot harvest what you haven't planted. Holy Saturday represents the sacred soil in which Easter joy takes root. Plant silence, prayer, and contemplative waiting during this day, and you'll reap abundant spiritual fruit when Easter dawns." These spiritual guidelines might seem demanding in our convenience-oriented culture, but they spring from profound wisdom. Holy Saturday stands as a sacred threshold between death and resurrection. How we cross this threshold significantly impacts our Easter experience. As evening approaches on Holy Saturday, the Church awakens. Darkness gives way to the kindling of new fire. The Exulte proclaims ancient triumph. But this liturgical transformation finds its deepest meaning in hearts that have faithfully observed the sacred waiting that preceded it. For such souls, Easter represents not just historical commemoration, but personal spiritual reality. The resurrection becomes not just Christ's victory, but our own. If you've followed this reflection to this point, I offer a spiritual challenge inspired by Padre Pio's wisdom. Commit to disconnecting completely for at least 12 hours on Holy Saturday. Maintain intentional silence. Engage in unhurried prayer. Write your heart's deepest concerns to Jesus. Spiritually accompany Mary in her faithful waiting. Then enter the Easter Vigil with a receptive heart, prepared by sacred silence. And here's my promise based on Padre Pio's teaching. If you honor Holy Saturday as Mary did, keeping faithful vigil when all visible evidence suggested defeat, then Easter Sunday will transcend mere holiday observance. It will become a day when resurrection touches your own life circumstances. For as Padre Pio beautifully expressed, authentic Easter joy remains unavailable to those who haven't passed through Saturday's sacred silence with wakeful hearts and receptive spirits. Let me share something personal. For many years, I approached Holy Saturday as merely Easter's prelude, filling it with busy preparations, errands, and various distractions. Easter would arrive, and while I enjoyed the celebration, something essential seemed missing. A depth of transformation I sensed should be present, but somehow wasn't. Then I encountered Padre Pio's profound teachings about Holy Saturday's spiritual significance. The first year I observed this day following his guidance, embracing silence, engaging in contemplative prayer, and spiritually accompanying Mary in her faithful waiting, everything changed. When Easter morning dawned, I experienced joy so authentic and transformative that I realized all my previous Easter celebrations had merely skimmed the surface of this glorious mystery. This same transformative experience awaits you. Today's reflection extends a sacred invitation. Imagine entering Easter morning with a heart thoroughly prepared through faithful waiting, a soul that has kept vigil with Christ, a spirit attuned to resurrection's mystery. Imagine experiencing Easter not as mere historical commemoration, but as personal reality transforming your current circumstances. This Holy Saturday, make a conscious spiritual choice. Choose sacred silence over constant noise. Choose spiritual depth over distraction. Choose Mary's faithful waiting over worldly impatience. If this message has touched your heart, please write, "I choose holy waiting," in the comments below. Your commitment might inspire others to discover the transformative power of properly observed Holy Saturday. Remember, dear friends, that how we journey through these sacred days shapes our entire spiritual life. When we honor the liturgical year's rhythms, especially this most sacred triduum, we align ourselves with salvation history's very heartbeat. Your spiritual journey matters profoundly. Your Holy Saturday observance matters. Your inner resurrection matters. As our community grows in understanding these sacred mysteries, we become authentic faith witnesses in a world desperately hungry for meaning beyond material existence. If today's message has blessed you, please support our mission by subscribing to our Padre Pio Teachings channel and sharing this video with someone who needs this crucial spiritual guidance. Consider becoming a member through our God Protect Me membership plan, which provides exclusive access to additional spiritual resources that can deepen your faith journey. Your support enables us to continue sharing Padre Pio's transformative wisdom with searching hearts worldwide. May Holy Saturday's sacred silence prepare you for Easter morning's glorious light. May Mary's unshakable faith sustain you through life's darkest valleys. And may Christ's wounds, temporarily hidden in the tomb, become fountains of healing grace in every wounded area of your life. Remember always, after faithful waiting through every Holy Saturday experience, Easter's transformative power inevitably arrives, bringing new life precisely where death once seemed to reign supreme. Before concluding, I want to emphasize one final thought about Holy Saturday's significance for our everyday spiritual journey. Life itself contains many Holy Saturday experiences, seasons when God seems silent, when promises appear unfulfilled, when we find ourselves waiting without visible evidence that our faith is justified. Padre Pio understood that learning to navigate Holy Saturday properly equips us to handle these inevitable spiritual desert experiences with greater faith and patience. The spiritual disciplines we practice on this liturgical Holy Saturday, embracing silence, maintaining faith without evidence, keeping patient vigil, and trusting God's hidden work beneath appearances, become valuable resources during life's countless tomb experiences. When relationships falter, when health challenges arise, when financial difficulties press in, when loved ones depart, when prayers seem unanswered, we draw upon Holy Saturday's wisdom. This understanding transforms Holy Saturday from a single day on the calendar into a spiritual paradigm for faithful living amid uncertainty. Just as Easter inevitably follows Holy Saturday in the liturgical year, resurrection follows every tomb experience for those who wait with patient faith. Padre Pio particularly encouraged elderly and suffering believers to view their challenges through Holy Saturday's spiritual lens. Your physical limitations, your chronic pain, your seasons of loneliness, these aren't meaningless sufferings, he would counsel. They're Holy Saturday experiences preparing you for resurrection. Learn to wait with Mary's unshakable trust. One elderly woman who followed Padre Pio's spiritual direction shared how this perspective transformed her approach to chronic illness. Before understanding Holy Saturday's spiritual meaning, she confided, "I viewed my suffering as punishment or meaningless burden. Now I recognize it as sacred waiting, a temporary tomb experience preceding resurrection. This doesn't eliminate pain, but it infuses suffering with profound meaning and hope." This Holy Saturday, as you practice sacred waiting with Mary and the buried Christ, remember that you're not just observing a liturgical custom. You're developing spiritual muscles that will sustain you through life's countless waiting seasons. You're learning resurrection's essential prelude. You're embracing the pattern of authentic Christian spirituality. Death precedes life, burial precedes resurrection, darkness precedes dawn, and faithful waiting precedes joy. Thank you for journeying with us through Holy Saturday's sacred mystery. Remember to like this video, subscribe to our Padre Pio Teachings channel, and consider supporting our ministry through the God Protect Me membership plan. Share this message with someone navigating their own Holy Saturday experience. Until we meet again in our next spiritual reflection, may God bless your waiting with the certainty that resurrection always follows for those who wait in faith.